So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is the 32nd Street and 31st Street Block Association, and we're really happy that you've come to spend some time with us. We really appreciate how hard it is to run for office, and we appreciate all your efforts and respect what you're doing. So we would like just first to have about 3 minutes for you to talk to us about your vision for the neighborhood and how you would your vision for the neighborhood includes children, I'm sure. Go ahead. And just share with us how you would work with us to understand our priorities and to establish a good, strong working relationship.
So thank you so much for that question. One of the things that I've pledged is that my staff will be very reflective of the demographics in the district, and as well there will be a liaison sort of for, like each AD or a couple of EDs or ADs. So you can feel as though you're going to someone who understands exactly which neighborhood you're talking about, exactly what area you're talking about, and when you refer to a certain issue, they know what you're referencing. I've also pledged to be extremely transparent and accessible. I really want to try to deliver on this promise to always be available. That I really see this as public service and being a public servant. And I think that, I've pledged half my salary to go to nonprofit organizations. I really wanted to pledge all of it until people were like, that's not a good look. It's going to make you look like you're wealthy. And I'm like, it's not even true. I've been on government assistance programs. I've only recently been able to, get off of certain like healthcare assistance programs. So it's not even true. But my point is that I really do see myself as pledging undying dedication to the people. There is so much challenges and so much doubt and negativity that I've had to encounter with my candidacy that I'm so fired up and fueled up to just almost prove everyone wrong on their hypotheses about me, and really giving it my all. I'm a tireless worker. I work 20-hour days. I work 24/7. And just to give out, I give out my cell phone number on the campaign trail when I knock on a door and someone tells me they're having an issue even with their doorbell. I don't say, oh, that's not really what a city council person does. I see a city council person connecting with people as humans before what it says on the paper. And I had a lady who called me who said, oh, you were helping me with my registration form, and can you help me because my recliner doesn't work? That's not, I know it's adorable, but I see that as part of my job. I see that as part of my job to reach out then to students in the neighborhood and say, who wants to lean in and help an elderly woman who can't change the battery on her recliner? So I'm just the kind of person who goes above and beyond what's expected. I always try to rise to the occasion, and I try to connect with people as humans, and I really try to bring that, I will try to bring that for you, and anything you need of me, that's my calling, that's what I'm here for.
Super, we really appreciate hearing that. So just tell us briefly, what is your vision for the neighborhood? Say if there's 3 things that you would like to really see change or shine, what would they be?
So one of the things I've mentioned even last night, I think when you were there at the debate, was that a lot of us are talking about these issues that affect the community: affordable housing, affordable health care, fix the MTA, right? It's so sad, but it is sort of becoming jargon. And we all agree that these are issues, but none of us are really talking about the systemic issue, which is that the people's voices are not being put front and center. So if our people's voices are not front and center, then the elected officials are not being held accountable, and they're not executing legislation or policy based on what the people want, because they're sort of exploiting the fact that people don't really know what's going on. That you knock on a door. I've been knocking on doors. I knock on a, hi, I'm running for the vacant seat in City Council 45. You don't know what you're talking about. Jamani Williams won. And I'm like, yeah, he won public advocate. Exactly. Slam the door in my face. A lot of people are missing that educational thing, and at NAACP yesterday, we learned how important it is to engage people civically. One of my #1 priorities is making sure, we're going block by block as though we were running for election, educating people on what an absentee ballot is, what is a registration form, how when you register to a party, what does it mean? A lot of people tell me, oh, I don't vote, I'm an independent. Like, that's not accurate information.
So you're saying that your staff will be very engaged in the communities, going block by block, you're saying educating voters, getting voters involved, trying to raise the participation level.
Yes.
Okay, and then let's go for
Sure.
2 more other of your priorities. I mean, that's terrific. I love engagement.
Yeah.
I'm a journalist who covers that. So, but
Okay.
and 2 other priorities?
Sure. So something that's also really important to me is, you know, that people should be able to stay in the homes that they've been in their whole lives. So affordable housing, and yes, of course, new building developments should have at least 60% of the units allocated for affordable housing at the very least, and these should be affordable. You know, apartments that are being built. It shouldn't be luxury apartments that none of us can afford. But additionally, people who are homeowners, working with them so that their property taxes, especially for seniors, are not inflating every year, and then moving our most vulnerable seniors out of the district. These are people who've worked tirelessly to shape the community and who want to keep their families here. And so to protect seniors and homeowners with affordable housing, and as well as keeping people within the community so they can stay put and not move away to New Jersey or Connecticut.
And what specific steps would you take to keep people in their homes?
So, like I said, having to do with seniors, maybe putting a freeze on property tax evaluation so that they're not inflating every year. And also, like I said, 60% of the units being affordable for people so they can afford to stay here. And in other ways, I look very much forward to deferring to the people who are most expert in certain areas so that I can be the mediator through which we can bring to fruition our vision for the district.
Super. And then what would be a 3rd priority?
Definitely education is very important to me. I'm a mother, I have 2 children. I have a 10-year-old son and I have a 3.5-year-old son. I'm very concerned about our youth having proper education and equity within the system. It's disturbing to me that certain zip codes are sort of penalized and not given enough equity. I believe principals should have more discretionary funds so that they can make the decisions that are best for their own schools and allocate more funds towards maybe hiring additional teachers or additional mental health counselors, anything that's needed within the school, and that should also continue throughout college. CUNY used to be free. That's one of the most beautiful things about CUNY, and it no longer is. And education should be considered a human right. So to advocate in whatever ways possible for additional, for a free CUNY system, and of course for our adjuncts who are there, at least $7,000, because the quality of the professors there, the quality of the learning experience is really diminishing. When I was there, I had many full-time professors, and knowing that I could go to my professor during office hours, or to ask for a work recommendation letter, or to ask for that extra time, they were very invested in me because they're salaried, they have benefits. But now there's mostly adjunct professors because they had to make certain budget cuts, and that just ends up making those adjunct teachers having to jump from campus to campus, and they're split, and they're not able to invest as much as they would want to in their students, and that really cheapens and diminishes the value of the educational experience of the college students. So that would also be my 3rd thing, education.
That's great. So let's move on. We want to ask about zoning. There's a lot of focus on zoning in this neighborhood right now. First off, what's your understanding of the zoning, where it stands right now? What are the zoning regulations that are being changed or proposed to be changed? So let's just start there, and let's just spend like a minute on that.
So, well, I will say, before we touch upon commercial zoning and upzoning, I want to talk for a moment because I want to be very transparent, and I don't want later on to say, for anyone to feel deceived. There are many residents who live in, let's say, Marine Park or Midwood, who are raising very large families in tiny, tiny homes, and they're also putting up their homes for sale and leaving. So one of the things I very much want to advocate for is the ability for them to make a small extension to the back of the house, just allowing for a little bit more space for an extra bedroom, for an extra, just 1 or 2 extra bedrooms so that their family can stay put and grow with the home. So I want to just make sure you know that in zoning, it's not only about diminishing zoning, but in some small ways without affecting the exterior and the charm and the characteristic of the neighborhood. That is something I will want to advocate for. Now let's move towards more commercial zoning. From my understanding, there is a lot of funny business going on. I'll try to just insinuate without calling names. Certain candidates have referred to it as a Goliath coming within the district to create more commercial zoning and push us all out of the district. And yet those very people who talk about the Goliath that's coming in are also endorsed by many Jewish real estate agents. This to me is very shady and very suspicious. So I'm very proud to say that I am not endorsed by any Jewish real estate agents. I have not, although I've been offered money, I have not taken any of it. And the zoning needs to be for the best interest of the community without affecting the quality of life. There needs to be independent investigations. And in addition, the community and the neighborhood needs to be educated about these hearings regarding zonings, regarding upzonings. People should be made aware. We had a hearing for it was at Franklin Avenue, and not many people were at the meeting. I don't think many people showed up at the hearing itself, and that also comes down to the lack of civic engagement. We need to increase the way we get messages out, and a lot of my focus would be on digitizing the way messages are spread. There's no reason why, if my team is using digital marketing to help get my candidacy out there and help win an election, that offices cannot be using that sort of geo-targeting to get messages out like, there's a hearing coming up that's going to affect your quality of life and affect the way your children use transportation to school. Please be present and you're invited.
What is your basic understanding of the zoning issue that we're facing? Like, what is the basic decision that we're going to have to make as a community about zoning, and what stage is it at? And let's just try to keep our answers as tight as possible. Thanks.
No, I understand why you're trying to bring it back to a very tight place, but I just feel like to draw it in onto one aspect would sort of not be addressing this very complex and nuanced problem accurately. It would sort of be like, I understand it. So I guess just for the sake of the
I just meant tight in terms of time. So it's just such a complex answer, so I don't want to oversimplify it and sound as though I'm not aware of all the nuances. But yes, there's what has happened to Williamsburg, where it was very residential, and now it became like hipster, and there's a lot of buildings, and there's a lot of condominiums, and a lot of people who were who lived there their whole lives were uprooted and had to move away. Is coming here. It's coming here now, and they're coming for us. So we need people at the forefront to make sure that the people who have lived here their whole lives are not being thrown out. So what is exactly the stage that we're at? Like, are we already past the point of no return in the upzoning, or is it something that as a community we could come together, and how would you lead that battle?
It's never too late. I don't believe that there's such a thing as a point of no return. I believe that the necrosis of the way that everything is looking in terms of the way the buildings are, between the balance between residential and commercial, or residential and buildings. I believe that if we have people at the forefront who are, again, civically engaging the community, who truly, really invested in the people, who don't have ulterior motives, who are not plugged into the political system, who are not plugged into institutions, then there is a greater chance that they don't have conflicts of interest. I think these endorsements are very lovely and very beautiful, and I think it's very helpful to get a candidate elected. I'm not talking about a block association. That's a very organic, grassroots sort of thing. But when you have certain endorsements that are coming from, deeper pockets, I think it's very important to be skeptical and figure out, is that a testament to their capability, or is it also a testament to their vulnerability for having conflicts?
And which endorsements would you warn people to watch out for if a candidate is endorsed by such and such organization?
anything having to do with real estate.
Okay, so those are the ones that you would be aware of. Okay, so let's move on. That was really helpful. The next question that we wanted to ask you about is the greening of the neighborhood and cleaning up the litter and the graffiti. Those are very important issues to our block association. We've done a tremendous amount of planting. We've won, I think, runner-up for greenest block.
First place in several categories.
First place we got.
That is so beautiful.
So we do a lot of planting and getting people involved in planting and flower beds. And we want to know, number one, what you'll do to help us continue to green the entire district, and also the trash and the litter is really a blight on our district. And many people in our block association have tried multiple times to get garbage cans on the corners of the main streets, to get garbage pickup increased, to work with the individual businesses. We've met with the head of Chase Bank, the manager of Chase Bank, and we received a really very flat response, or no cooperation from many of the businesses. So we want to know what you're going to do to really help beautify the neighborhood and clean up the litter and the graffiti tagging, which is really starting to accelerate.
Okay, so first I just want to tell you a little bit about me. When it comes to as far back as I can remember, even sitting alongside a friend of mine in the yellow school bus coming home in 5th grade, when a girl would open up her lolly and take the wrapper off and then throw it out the window, I have always my whole life literally taken in a big gasp. And I don't know where this necessarily comes from, because I haven't necessarily witnessed this at home, but if something is not biodegradable, I cannot fathom how someone can so carelessly throw it out the window of their car, because I really just want you to know that this is really something very personal to me. In addition, I visit nurseries every single spring. I plant with my children in my backyard. We have azaleas. We have beautiful lilies. We have really beautiful plants. I tried to grow tomatoes, didn't work, so I went to my grandmother's yard and it worked over there, except the dogs came and ate them. But my point is, this is something that really I feel, and the fact that there isn't enough cracking down on those who are not recycling, there isn't enough accountability for the residents who are not recycling. They can just put it in a black garbage bag and no one knows what's going on. I would work to increase the accountability and to educate as much as possible on the importance of keeping our environment sustainable, passing it over as a legacy to our children. Just like I've mentioned, that part of the reason why I want to keep the community so civically active is because I'm very well aware that my term would not be forever, and who I give it over to, I want that legacy to give it over. I want to give it over in a way where, like, I'm giving you a district who knows what's up. So good luck. and I feel the same way about our green earth and about our environment. And I've spoken about this on my large platform. And when you say to me that the manager of Chase Bank gave you a flat response, I think about my secret weapon, which is my platform, which I've dedicated to give back in the form of public service. And I know it sounds silly for maybe someone who doesn't use social media every day, but let me tell you, when you have 15,000 people watching your story who live in Brooklyn, you can make a lot of noise. And when you can go on your phone and you can say, guys, this is what's up. These blocks, I know it sounds so juvenile, but it's not. This is the world we're living in now, okay? Guys, this is what's up. Our group, this block association, and myself went here and here. We have given these reasons why this and this is needed, and this was the response. We need you to partner with us to keep these people accountable. We need you to help jump on Twitter, repost this, use this hashtag, meet us here for an evening or an afternoon of planting and using our green thumbs and educating our children. Whatever pressure tactics are necessary to keep our environment sustainable.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And that's beautiful that you won the award, and congratulations. Can I please come see your block?
Absolutely. It was the very first sustainable award given out by BPG.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's our president of our Block Association talking about the very first award ever given out for sustainability to a block. We received it through the 32nd Street Block Association called Tilder.
You're a visionary. It's a vision because this is not even on the minds of many people because they're so focused on things like homelessness and affordable housing. And what's not understood is that these are also just as critical issues because it's just going to spiral and the issue is just going to compound upon itself. So I appreciate you having that foresight.
Super. So we're going to wrap up. We're out of time, but I want to ask one more quick question because this is my specialty. I'm an election security journalist, and one of the problems that we have here in New York City is the Board of Elections is incompetent and has demonstrated some very serious conflicts of interest with the executive director taking trips sponsored by the vendors that actually sell us the voting equipment. And we are also in the process of looking at some very hackable voting equipment coming into the city, 2 machines that are under consideration that have very serious security problems. So I want to know what you would do as a city council person to work with us to bring accountability, transparency, and security to the Board of Elections. Would it be a primary concern for you?
So I like this because it sort of also delves into something I really want to do, which is I really do want to digitize voting as much as possible. I don't think I can't accomplish so much in my term, but I definitely want to get it out there a little bit. We need the young voices engaged, and just like we use our phones to order a new driver's license, we can donate our kidneys online. We can do so much that has to do with our security. There's no reason why 2-factor authentication and minimizing fraud can't be used in a digital way. And I know you're probably nervous.
Voting online is actually considered extremely risky, and most election security experts say we are absolutely not ready to vote online because those votes could very likely be hacked. So I would not encourage you to go in that direction.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I don't mean to necessarily just blatantly just like create things without the checks and balances, without running through the issues. But in order to advance and move forward and move our children forward, just like we're thinking of sustainability with our environment, we need to think about sustainability for the method of communication that our children are using. And they're experts on digital, on iPods, on text messaging, and we're going to need to start pivoting in that direction soon. It doesn't mean in the near future, it could even be in 50 years, but we need to start implementing the things that will help us get there. And so when you say that things are hackable, I'm so curious to learn more so that that information can be used to make sure that as we pivot and optimize for the future generation, we're taking all these things into account. And thank you for being like a whistleblower on it. And I'm sure you've had pushback. And as someone myself who was whistleblown on many injustices within my own community, having to do with, just social justices, I appreciate that you've been doing that. And I look forward to working together on it more.
Super. We have a website, smartelections.us, and we have a video investigation there which explains about the risky voting equipment that is possibly coming into New York. So I encourage you to watch that. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Things can also be risky and compromised with pens as well. Like forging signatures is not that difficult.
So we are looking for somebody to work with us to have transparency, security, and accuracy at the Board of Elections, and especially they need more oversight.
Yeah, I just think when I think of a thumbprint, or I think of an eye scan, or I think of a facial scan, which is something all our iPhones are already equipped for, I just get a little less nervous, and I think of like, wow, there were 2,098-year-olds who voted in that election, and if you scan back on the ballots, or you see that, or like when they signed in at the Board of Elections, it's just like, that's a little scary as well.
Yeah, we want to be taking a look at our elections very closely.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your attention, and also to my fellow candidates who are here. I'm like so sad that it's almost over because it was amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.